Time After Pond. Today I will be discussing episode 2 of The Way Home, which is called Scar Tissue. For those of you watching live, hello. For those of you listening on playback, hello again. Anyway, so episode 2 begins where episode 1 ended. Alice is stuck in 1999, but meanwhile, in the present, Kat, Dell, and not Elliot, but Kat and Dell are really worried sick about Alice because she still hasn't come home. And Kat is searching all over for her daughter, and she's freaking out because, she lost her father and her brother, and she's afraid that she's going to lose her daughter too. So anyway, Alice, eventually does come back to the present and everything. And anyway, Kat, finds her in her room and, goes ballistic and grounds her. And then after she drops her off at school, she has that awkward moment where she talks to Elliot and all that and almost gets him fired because she says, "We need to talk," in front of all these people. So, yeah, that's a running gag in the series. And it starts with season 1 is Alice goes to Elliot to discuss the past and everything, but what she always phrases turns out to sound really bad. And it's actually a risky thing for Hallmark to do, but they do it. Today's not going to be very long. I just thought I'd come on here for just a little bit. So, one thing that really stands out in this episode is, so Alice learns that she is going to be time traveling several more times again. And anyway, she keeps trying to get back to 1999, but the pond just won't send her yet. Anyway, Dell takes her to the farmer's market, and, Kat is very mad because, Alice is supposed to be grounded, and Dell just overrided that and took her to the farmer's market, went behind Kat's back, and Kat points out to her mother that Alice is her child, not hers, and if she says Alice is grounded, then Alice is grounded. And then also, Kat has an opportunity to write a book, but, about Jacob, but Dell is really upset and thinks that it's a selfish move and everything. Just brings back too many painful memories. And so as she and Kat are fighting, Alice uses this opportunity. She goes to the paper and she looks up what happened to Jacob, and then right as she's finding out what happened to Jacob, Dell arrives and angrily tells her granddaughter, "Get in the car." And anyway, she takes Alice to, the field where there's a cross, and she tells her that that's where Colton died, and she has to drive past it every day. And she tells Alice that she does not want to look into the past, so whatever she's doing must stop now. Okay. Anyway, Kat also finds out that Dell got Jacob declared legally dead, and they have this memorial, and they have Dell, Kat, Elliot, Alice, and then Dell's red-haired friend. I always forget her name. Yeah, and then at the very end of the episode, Alice is able to jump into the pond again, and she finally goes back to 1999, and she meets with a young Kat and a young Jacob, and Kat teases her for falling in the pond again. Yeah. A couple of things about this episode is, we find out more about the town. And, Dell is like really trying to get Kat to get a job and everything. And so she sends Kat to, there's this one part where she sends Kat to give honey to the diner, and then it turns out that it's a job interview. It's basically entrapment. And also at the end of the episode, Kat decides that she's going to start working for the paper because, she is a journalist after all and a writer. So anyway, that's all I have to say about episode 2 of The Way Home. Sorry that today wasn't just long like the other day, but I'm just really not feeling well today and just thought I'd come on here and talk about it. Like, there will be days like this where the podcast is pretty short, and there will be days where it could be longer, and sometimes I may have people on it. Anyway, I asked my niece, Bryn, if she would come on the podcast, and she refused. And my mom's like, I'm not going to be on a podcast. So, anyway, thanks a lot, Mom, and thanks a lot, Bryn. Anyway, hopefully I can get people to start coming on here. So, have a good day, everybody.